What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we've got some big updates when it comes to Metroid Prime 4, a new segment that we're debuting here with some good pickups for this week, and an update on the next Metal Gear Solid game, or at least what they want to do. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to start off with Metroid Prime 4 and the big update here, getting you guys ready for the game's launch on December 4th, which I'm super excited to be able to play this week. So just a little bit of a rundown before we get into the file size situation, which makes this game absolutely massive in comparison, which I do think is going to play a part, maybe a bit more than maybe what some were thinking with the game. So there is a demo if you want to check out the game beforehand. Check out Walmart, Best Buy, Targets. It just depends. Not all of them have it, but some of them do. So go out there, see where you can play it. I know I played it at my Best Buy. I played it in portable mode at 120 FPS, and it was looking and running good, even at 720p on the screen. So once you play it on a 4K TV, 4K 60 or 1080p 120 FPS, this is going to be one of the most technologically sound games that Nintendo has ever released. I expect it to be pretty much perfect in that respect overall, based on what I played. Now, another thing here, though, guys, is that the file size. So if you're planning on picking up the game digitally, it is going to be 31.6 gigabytes on the Nintendo Switch 2, and it's going to be 28.9 gigabytes on the Nintendo Switch 1. So keep that in mind depending on what you want to do with this game. Now, if you buy the game physical on either Switch 1 or Switch 2, you're not going to have to worry about the file size outside of the save data. So that's the great thing about the Nintendo Switch 2 compared to Xbox and PlayStation with their modern systems, is that pretty much every single game, even if it's physical, will take up hard drive space. And I know that hard drive space with the Nintendo Switch 2 is at a premium overall, considering the amount of game key cards that we have, and of course just digital games that release. So anytime you can save some space with an actual physical release of a game that you're looking forward to playing, it might be a good option to go ahead and pick up that physical and save that 31 gigabytes of space, or even 28 gigabytes plus of space on Switch 1. Although with the sizes when it comes to Switch 1 and with the price of the memory with Switch 1 as well, there are things that's a little bit better overall. But right now, Nintendo Switch 2 Express SD cards are a bit pricey. It's probably going to take another year or so before that 1 terabyte gets down to a bit more acceptable levels overall. So I do think that a physical version of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond might be a better thing. Now, with this game being 31.6 gigabytes on the Nintendo Switch 2 and even 28, almost 29 gigabytes on Switch 1, this is by far the biggest Metroid Prime game ever released. It's actually 4 times plus bigger than Metroid Prime Remastered on the Nintendo Switch 1, which already looked really good and played good and ran at 1080p 60 frames per second. So this game is packed full of obviously great looking visuals overall, high quality sound, probably going to get that nice surround sound going. But I would say when it comes to land size or land mass, this is the biggest that they've ever done by a country mile overall, with the viola and the huge desert area, in addition to just the game in general. I think there's going to be a lot of boss battles, content, replay value, all sorts of stuff. Voice dialogue is a thing that's in this game now, a lot more compared to what we saw in the past. And if you're looking at it when it comes to Metroid Prime games overall, like, this game just crushes all of them. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes on the GameCube, that was about 1.1 gigabyte. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption on the Nintendo Wii, pretty big jump up, 4.72 gigabytes in terms of file size. So Metroid Prime 4 Beyond just absolutely obliterates all of them. And I do think even with the Nintendo Switch 1 version, you can look at it and say, oh, well, hold up, that doesn't have the 4K textures and all of that. And it's still pretty big of a file size, even compared to Metroid Prime 1 Remastered on the Nintendo Switch 1. So expect a pretty large game here, which kind of caught me by surprise a bit. I know that we've known the file size, but I wanted to wait till there was a final confirmation with that, now that we're so close to it. And yeah, 32 gigabytes pretty much right around there. That is huge for a Metroid Prime game. So I'm expecting a pretty large adventure here. I do think that it will take, if it's like 100% playthrough, probably going to take 20-30 hours or so, depending on what difficulty you're playing on. So I'm very excited to get into this game, excited to see the up in quality, excited to see just what they're doing with the combat, with the new characters. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be one of the better selling Metroid Prime games out there. And for the first time, which I talked about before in a previous video, this is the first time that they've had a really clean release and a very successful platform and 2 successful platforms to drop the game on simultaneously. So this game should be overall, should be one of the better selling ones. Now, yes, we had Metroid Dread, but I'm talking about Metroid Prime games. Prime 1, Prime 2, GameCube, didn't sell very well. Prime 3, the Wii. So that was a bit more of the casual side of things in terms of the best selling games overall. This is the perfect opportunity for Prime to finally be on a massive install base with a lot of core gamers that want to get into the game. So I'm very excited to see how it does overall. But I'm not expecting anything crazy, but I do think that it could be pretty good, especially for the course of the generation as it's coming out at the very beginning of the Nintendo Switch 2 gen. But I highly recommend the Nintendo Switch 2 version. If you don't have a Switch 2 or if you're getting one later, there is an upgrade pack as well, so you can pick it up on Switch 1, and then later when you get a Switch 2, go ahead and get that $10 upgrade as well. So definitely excited for it. But what do you guys think when it comes to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond's file size being 4 times plus over Metroid Prime Remastered, the previous biggest Metroid game or Metroid Prime game? Let me know in the comment section below. But before we get to the next topic, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next segment here, and that is the Player Essence picks. These are going to be my favorite picks of the week. If you're planning on picking up some brand new games, here's what I think is going to be the best. I've got 3 games for you guys and 2 honorable mentions. We're going to start off with the honorable mentions. Sonic Racing Crossworlds, that's coming out. There's a discount if you buy the Nintendo Switch 1 version. If you want it physical, you can get a $10 upgrade on there as well. Limited time discount when it comes to the upgrade. If you want to wait, you can wait till early next year. There will be a full physical on the Nintendo Switch 2 for Sonic Racing Crossworld. So it's up to you on that one, but it's a digital only release right now at this point. Next up for honorable mention is Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's going to be $59.99. So it is $10 cheaper than the original release of the game on the PlayStation and Xbox and PC. But still, you can find it for probably a bit cheaper than that on other platforms. They did go over a bunch of technical details with this game. It supports VRR at 30 FPS, so it's going to be a really smooth experience whether you're playing portable or on the docked up mode. You also have DLSS on there, and they also talked about different baked in global illumination and how they retained the world size and scope of the game. That makes it look like Assassin's Creed Shadows, because this is easily one of the best looking games on current platforms right now. They were able to retain that look, and they showed off some footage. So if you want a huge open world Assassin's Creed game to play on Switch 2, this is it. Anywhere that you want, I think it's actually going to be okay. I'm going to be getting a review code for it, so I'll check it out for you guys as well. All right, here are my top 3 picks when it comes to this week to get. Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the 7. I know this game came out a bit ago, but there is a Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade and there is a sale. I've been waiting to recommend this one because the sale is only $30 with that $10 upgrade. So you can go ahead and pick up the Switch 1 version, upgrade it on the Nintendo Switch 2, or just play it on your Nintendo Switch 1. I highly recommend this game. It is incredible, but if you have a Switch 2, I recommend it if you're looking for a big RPG to play. Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the 7 is easily one of the better turn-based games released in the last 5 years or so. I really like the title. I think it's a lot of fun, a lot of different combinations, characters, skills, abilities, has a unique system when it comes to the bloodlines and passing things down from one character to another. I like it a lot. So if you haven't checked out Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the 7, check out my review on it, which will be linked in the description. And of course, watch out for the sales that are going on right now. $29.99 at most places, $10 upgrade. Can't go wrong there if you're looking for a big RPG to play this week or upcoming here or taking advantage of the sale. Next up is Octopath Traveler 0. Octopath, one of the better HD 2D games out there. We've got a prequel coming out that's going to have a bunch of content in here. It's going to have a town builder. You're going to be able to access so many different characters from the Octopath universe. They essentially took that mobile game and they kind of refitted it and added a bunch of content and released it on consoles. So that's going to be $49.99 or $59.99. I'm not 100% sure about upgrade paths or anything like that. I don't think there is one, which is weird because Square Enix sometimes has them, sometimes they don't. But if you have a Switch 2, you're definitely going to want the Switch 2 version. Switch 2 version runs at 60 frames per second. It's a turn-based RPG, but you still want that 60 FPS in my opinion at least. Not a deal breaker, but 60 FPS would be the better version to get at 1080p. And then on the Nintendo Switch 1, that's running at 30 FPS. or if you want to just go with Xbox or PlayStation, it's going to be available there as well. And they're going to be able to have more, I would say, stuff in the town. I know like the town builder, how many buildings you can have is affected by the system that you're on. So you can keep that in mind as well. And then in at my number 1 pick, of course, is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I mean, you can't go wrong with this in my opinion. Nintendo actually detailed a lot more information. So if you haven't played Metroid Prime 1, Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 3, or if you're spotty on it, maybe you've played 2, but you haven't played the others, or you've played 1 and 3 and haven't played 2, or maybe you missed out on Metroid Prime Hunters, or Metroid Prime Pinball, or Metroid Prime Federation Force, it's okay. You don't have to play any of those to really get into this game, because this is the beginning of a brand new story for Samus, and it seems like Nintendo is going to take from here and kind of go on, which is why there are a number of changes that are different when it comes to the Metroid franchise. Having a motorcycle, for example, having different Federation troopers interact with you and have some stuff with dialogue and all that. This is a bit different. Yes, it's going to be that classic Metroid gameplay that you know and love overall. You have the missiles, you have the energy tanks, you have the exploration, you have all that cool stuff, but they're adding some more things in here as well. So it's going to be a new story. So if you haven't played the other Prime games or anything like that, that's completely fine. You can go ahead and jump right into this one. And if you like it, you can check out the other games. But we'll see what Nintendo does with Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3. I'm guessing Nintendo will have a Wii Virtual Console service at some point, and Metroid Prime Trilogy will be available on that service. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know. We'll see what happens if they do GameCube with Metroid Prime 2, and then maybe later just with Wii and do Metroid Prime 3 individually. I just don't know. Or even like a Pikmin 1 and 2 situation where they just release it both on a cartridge and just have it like 1080p, 60 frames per second, and just like a port of the game. So maybe they do that as well. So we'll see what happens there. But either way, Metroid Prime 4 is my top pick of the week. I highly recommend it. I think it's going to be really good overall. So what do you guys think about my picks? What are you planning on getting? Or is there something outside of my picks that you are going to pick up? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the final topic here, we're going to get into what's happening with Metal Gear Solid, and particularly what Konami wants to do with Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. This is a game that I played going on 20 years ago now, and I think it's what, 2008? Yeah, 2008 for this game, and I like it a lot, but it was a really weird game built specifically for the PlayStation 3 and has not seen any type of re-release, and that's for good reason. The PS3 was absolutely crazy architecture-wise with the cell processor, with the installing between chapters, with all sorts of stuff with that game. Kojima was a madman for how they built that game on the PlayStation 3, and Konami is also feeling that as well, because Konami recently came out and talked about potentially bringing back the game and how it would be kind of difficult, kind of a real challenge according to them. So here is what they had to say recently. This is Noriaki Okumura, and he spoke with the Japanese publication Real Sound about what they're going to do with this. And he said, quote, "The hardware at the time required some very unusual designs to get 3D performance out of the technology available, and Metal Gear Solid 4's code ended up being quite unconventional as well. Bringing it over today seems like it would be a real challenge," he said. So there you go, straight from the Konami horse's mouth when it comes to the people in charge. It's going to be difficult, and you knew this when you played the game. If you played Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots back on the PlayStation 3, it was the most awkward game. It had things that no other game had. Yes, actual real-time installs in between chapters. You would have to wait as the game installs even more data. I guess it's the precursor to what we got with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, but that's just how it was. And it's not like this game ran at 60 frames per second or perfect. It wasn't even like it was at a consistent 30 FPS all the time. There was some issues here and there, and really for the spectacle of the game, you didn't really pay attention to that. A lot of reviewers didn't really talk about that. They were just blown away by the size and scope of this game, and so was I. It was just a massive game with a lot of mechanics, a lot of systems, and built for really weird hardware with the PlayStation 3. So yeah, I can understand where they're coming from. I don't think it's going to be some type of easy snap your fingers and all of a sudden Metal Gear Solid 4 appears, a wild Metal Gear Solid 4 appears on your PlayStation 5 or your Xbox Series or your PC. So they're gonna have to figure something out with that, because they got Metal Gear Solid 3, they got that game out, and that had some mixed situations going on. Still a really good game, but that was a bit mixed on here. So let's see what they do with Metal Gear Solid 4 overall. Would they bring that to Unreal Engine? Would they do something different with it? I'm not really sure. I don't know what they can do. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to bring it over, but as someone who played Metal Gear Solid games before, I really do like Metal Gear Solid. I'm hoping they do something with that game because it's a great title, but it's just stuck on hardware that's difficult to get things over. But I'm pretty sure they could. They just have to really spend quite a bit of time, like you said, to be a real challenge. So maybe they do get something. There's been some rumors here and there that Metal Gear Solid could be coming back in some way when it comes to Metal Gear Solid 4 at least. So we'll see what happens. And hopefully they get something done because it's a great game just stuck on hardware that's old now at this point. So what do you guys think when it comes to everything that we talked about here? A lot of stuff the PlayerEssence picks in addition to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and Metal Gear. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Like this video talking about best Nintendo Switch games as well. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.